March is National Cerebral Palsy Awareness Month. So what is cerebral palsy and how have I lived a fulfilled, happy, and successful life with cerebral palsy? If you want to find out, then keep watching because I'm going to talk about that right now. Hey everyone, welcome to my channel if you're new and welcome back if you're returning. My name is Danielle and today I want to talk about cerebral palsy. Being that March is National Cerebral Palsy Awareness Month, I feel like I would be remiss if I didn't talk about this a little bit because I have been affected by cerebral palsy all my life. I was born with it and I want to take a few minutes just to tell you a little bit about it and tell you a little bit about how it has affected my life and how it has actually enriched my life and made it better. So first of all, what I want to do is I want to share with you what it is in case you don't know. I know that a lot of you that are subscribed to my channel do know that I have cerebral palsy. A lot of you do know me personally. A lot of you see me in real life, so you see how I'm affected on a day-to-day basis by my disability. But let's go into what it is real briefly for those of you that don't know. And just so you know, I will try to link a few other videos in the description box below if you are curious to do a little bit more research and find out a little bit more about cerebral palsy from a medical standpoint. I want to keep this really simple and short and in layman's terms as much as possible because I want to share with you a little bit more about my personal experience. But really briefly, to get into the clinical definition of cerebral palsy from the CDC, it says cerebral palsy is a group of disorders that affect a person's ability to move and maintain balance and posture. CP is the most common motor disability in childhood. Cerebral means having to do with the brain. Palsy means weakness or problems using the muscles. CP is caused by abnormal brain development or damage to the developing brain that affects a person's ability to control his or her muscles. So simply put, CP is really a neurological condition that affects muscle movement, and it typically happens either in pregnancy, during childbirth, or shortly thereafter childbirth up until a child is like 5 years old or so. There are no cases of CP that happen in adulthood. This is a childhood disability that occurs early on in childhood, infancy, or even in utero. But that's basically what cerebral palsy is. There are varying different forms of CP and there are varying different degrees of severity for CP. So you can see someone that is possibly in a wheelchair and they can't feed themselves, maybe they can't speak, and they have no control of any of their limbs, and that could be a person affected by cerebral palsy. Or you could see someone like me that pretty much is very independent and their cerebral palsy doesn't really affect their activities of daily living very much, and it's very difficult to tell what might be wrong because for the most part I move around and I'm able to do pretty much anything that I want to do with limited mobility, but I'm able to kind of work around that, and that's my case with my level of cerebral palsy. So like I said, there are different forms of cerebral palsy. Bear with me again as I do a little bit of reading. The first form is monoplegia or monoparesis, meaning that only one limb is affected. The second form is diplegia or diparesis, which means that usually the legs are affected more than the arms, so basically the lower body. The third form of CP is hemiplegia or hemiparesis, which indicates that one arm and leg on one side of the body is affected, and this is the type of CP that I have. My left side is affected, my right side is perfectly healthy and fine, and my left side is the side of my body that is affected by CP. The fourth form of CP is paraplegia or paraparesis, meaning that the lower half of the body is affected, so both of the legs but the arms are fine. The last form of CP is triplegia or triparesis, which indicates that 3 of the limbs are affected. This could be either both arms and one leg or both legs and one arm, or it could refer to one upper and one lower extremity and the face. Like I said, there are other videos that you can watch on YouTube. There is other information out there that you can find. If you do want to find out more information on cerebral palsy, if you are a family member of someone that is affected by CP, especially if they are a young child, if you have a friend who has a young child that has cerebral palsy, or maybe is wondering whether their infant could be affected, or you know someone that has cerebral palsy, it might behoove you to do some of this research so you can find out a little bit more about it and find out a little bit more about how maybe you could be a good support system and really encourage them in their journey. But I want to talk to you today about how you can live successfully, not just with cerebral palsy, but with any level or form of disability, and how I personally have done it. And I want to talk to you a little bit about how cerebral palsy has not only impacted my life, having it as a child and growing up with different things that I had to do to make it better and to live with it, but also how it's really enriched my life and how I see it now in adulthood as an asset in my life and how I'm using it to my advantage. So I want to talk to you a little bit about that. So those of you that know me today know how I am today, and you probably can't visualize how I might have been in childhood. So let me start off by saying that I was adopted as a baby from Korea, so I'm Korean. I was born in Seoul, Korea. I was abandoned as a baby, so my parents don't have any medical background on me. So when I was adopted, my parents were told that I was perfectly normal and healthy, and they didn't know otherwise. Now, thankfully, my mom is a medical professional. She was a nurse for 52 years. So not long after having me, she noticed and realized that I wasn't developing the way that I should. And a lot of times, some of the symptoms that parents can see in their babies regarding cerebral palsy are delays in crawling, delays in walking, favoring one side of the body, different things with motor skills, difficulty with fine motor skills, maybe some difficulty in eating or swallowing, maybe vision or hearing issues. Things like that are warning signs that you should definitely have checked out by your pediatrician, and so I had some of those things going on. So my mom took me to be examined, and right away I was diagnosed with cerebral palsy. So my childhood was really fraught with a lot of doctor's visits, a lot of orthopedic specialists. To fast forward a little bit, I spent probably about 8 or 9 years in physical and occupational therapy. So occupational therapy is a type of therapy that people go through that really helps them learn how to adapt to daily activities of living and be successful in society, be successful in the home, those kinds of things, and how to adapt with having a disability or having any sort of disorders that might prohibit them from doing the everyday activities that a lot of people that don't have those things take for granted. So I was in occupational therapy and physical therapy because a lot of times people with cerebral palsy, they can either have really, really tight muscles or really, really loose muscles, and they've got to work to correct that the best that they can. I also had a heel cord lengthening surgery when I was in 2nd grade, so I guess I was probably about 7 years old, because my heel cord was really tight and really spastic. So my form of cerebral palsy has always been characterized by very, very tight muscles, very limited flexibility. So that's really hard, and especially as a child when you're growing and your muscles are still forming, that can be really difficult. So I had this heel cord lengthening surgery in 2nd grade. It didn't really work. The effects of the heel cord lengthening surgery lasted for I think maybe 6 months to a year, and then my heel cord tightened up again and my heel cord got real spastic. I had about probably, I don't even know, 6, 7, or 8 correctional casts on my left leg through childhood. We develop our leg muscles, our calf muscles, through primarily walking as we are toddlers and children and when we grow up into adulthood. And I wasn't able to walk on my left leg through a lot of my childhood because I was in these correctional casts. So my left calf is a lot smaller than my right calf, and my muscle tone is not the same. That is something that I've always felt really self-conscious about and I really don't like about my body. It is something that I worked really hard to change, and then I suffered an injury and I was in a wheelchair and not able to put any weight or use my left leg for several months, and so I lost everything that I had done. So that was kind of discouraging, but that is something that I went through in childhood. In addition, I wore a brace and a shoe with a lift for several years throughout the time that I had physical and occupational therapy, all through elementary school and junior high. So that is something I also did, and it really made being physical in recess or gym very difficult. I was very self-conscious. I was teased a lot in school, and that was hard too. And I really, unfortunately, developed a very poor self-image growing up because of all of this. You know, as kids, and if you're a parent, you know this, kids don't like to be different. They don't really like to stand out. They like to really fit in. They like to blend in. They like to really get approval from their peers. And I would like to say, I think a lot of adults are no different. We, as adults, feel that way too. So that made my childhood really challenging. I remember in high school that we had to run the 12-minute mile. Who remembers that? Comment below if you had to run the 12-minute mile. We did. I hated it. My gym teacher told me that I was exempt. I didn't have to do it. I could not do it. I ran because I didn't want to appear different from my classmates. Couldn't do it in 12 minutes. I can tell you today I definitely can run a 12-minute mile, so that's exciting. But, you know, back then I couldn't. And I really struggled doing a lot of physical things, and I really felt very self-conscious and not very good about myself at all. Now, one thing I will say that was a true blessing is that my mom always pushed me. She always pushed me to try my hardest, to do my best, and she didn't make things physically easy for me. I remember in kindergarten at the time, to graduate kindergarten, you had to be able to tie your shoes, and I could not tie my shoes with both hands because I couldn't do things that required me to do any kind of fine motor skills with my left hand. It was very, very challenging and very difficult. And my teacher had told my mom and told me, don't worry about it. You don't have to tie your shoes. You're going to graduate kindergarten. Don't worry about that. And I remember my mom telling me, you are going to learn how to tie your shoes or I'm not going to let you graduate kindergarten. So I learned actually how to tie my shoes with my mouth and my right hand because I knew my mom wasn't going to let me graduate kindergarten and I didn't want all my friends to go on to first grade without me. So that actually is how I learned initially how to tie my shoes. Now, through occupational and physical therapy, the use of my left hand got better, it got a little bit stronger. I was able to start doing a little bit of fine motor skill activities, not a lot, but that's something that I've always done through my life. I've learned how to do a lot of things one-handed, a lot of things I can do with my right hand, and through the course of the years as an adult, I have taught myself to do certain things with my left hand, like paint my nails or like hold my shoelaces, and now I can tie my shoes with two hands. One thing though, when I put on jewelry, I always still have to use my mouth and my right hand. I cannot hold a necklace with my left hand. I can't do anything that requires a lot of fine motor skill with my left hand. I can't floss my teeth using conventional traditional floss. When I put on earrings, that's something I usually generally need help with, and my family does know this, and of course they help me out, so I appreciate that. There are some things that I can't do, but through the course of my life, as I got older, I did struggle in school. It was really challenging. I found it really not enjoyable. I really felt bad about myself. I really did develop a poor self-image. But I did realize, because my mom taught me, that I could really do anything I wanted to do, but I just have to work that much harder, and that's what I ended up doing. And over the course of the years, as I got into college and then went on to adulthood, I really realized that it's all about your frame of mind. It's all about knowing your own body, becoming your own best expert on your body, and really setting goals and really making your mind up that you are going to do what you want to do. I decided personally that I was going to push myself beyond limits that other people placed on me. I was told as a child, or I should say my parents were told, that I would be really tired, that standing for more than an hour would be challenging for me, that walking more than 3 blocks would be really challenging and I wouldn't be able to do it. I remember as a little girl when I would go to the zoo or I'd go to an amusement park, I'd always have a wheelchair or a motorized scooter, something of that kind, because that was so much walking. And even today as an adult, I will tell you that sometimes those activities where there are activities that require a lot of walking do tire me quite a bit. But now today as an adult, I'll be 47 in a few months, I work as a personal trainer. I have worked as a certified personal trainer for the last over a decade now. I think it's been about 11 years, and I love it. And it does require me to stand for a lot longer than an hour. It does require me to walk quite a bit, and I am very physically active at work, in my workouts and with my clients. In addition, I teach cycle classes. I was teaching 3 cycle classes a week, but I will be teaching, as of this coming week, 4 cycle classes a week. Now, if you know anything about cycle classes, typically when you teach a cycle class, you are on the bike as an instructor, instructing the class, riding with them. So I am really physical in everything I do, and I really credit the wellness center manager at a YMCA years ago, probably 15 years ago, who approached me and asked me to get certified to become a trainer because they needed trainers at the time. And I said no. I said I couldn't do that. I said, don't you know I'm disabled? And he said, I think you could really do it. I think you'd be really good. And I said, I'm never going to be able to do all those exercises that I'm going to have to teach clients to do. And he gave me a really valuable piece of advice that I still cling to today. He said, you will never have to do everything you teach your clients how to do, but you will have to become a really good coach. And he said, Danielle, you have it in you, and I know you can do it. And I, to this day, am so grateful for him giving me that advice and really encouraging me to pursue something that became a lifelong passion and a goal and a dream. And I feel like now I am living my dream, and I have my dream job, and I absolutely love what I do. And it's really interesting because I do feel like it's really defied a lot of the stereotypes that people think of when they think of someone that has a disability or someone with CP, and I really love it. I guess I would say the way that growing up and really embracing my disability and living with it has really enriched my life and given me a different perspective is it's really made me realize that we have limitations that we place on ourselves that sometimes are in our own minds that we can break through and really not have to be beholden to. And when I had a personal training company, my tagline that was on all my clothing, all my marketing material was limitations exist only in your mind. Now, obviously we all have limitations. I definitely have physical limitations that don't exist only in my mind. They are definite, true physical limitations, and I do know this. But I also know that a lot of things that doctors said I would never be able to do, I have done, and I've gone well beyond that. I've run, I want to say, I think like 4 or 5 duathlons. And a duathlon, if you don't know, is, for me at the time, it was a 2.5 mile run, a 10-mile bike, and a 2.5 mile run. I did one of those duathlons with a client that had cerebral palsy. She wheeled the last mile of the duathlon in her wheelchair with me on her lap. Kristen was a client that I had for several years that has cerebral palsy, but she was one of the most spunky, determined clients I've ever had, and I really, really enjoyed training her. And she really showed me that having a limitation or a disability doesn't mean that you aren't vibrant, that you aren't fun, that you aren't determined to live the kind of life that you want to live, and you can make that life whatever it is that you want it to be. So whatever your challenges are, whether you are a person that has a disability or you don't, because even if you're a person that doesn't have a physical disability, we all have limitations of some kind that we deal with, whether they are physical, mental, whether they are issues with our weight, issues with our self-esteem, family issues, whatever they are that we have to deal with on a weekly, monthly, sometimes daily basis, and we all have our own, I guess I would say, crosses to bear. So with that being said, I think that for me, having my disability has really made me embrace who I am and just accept what I have to offer myself and what I have to offer others, and live every day to the fullest and help other people realize that the potential they have is a lot greater than they realize, and really helping people tap into the true potential that they have inside and really bring that out is what I specialize in doing and what I love to do the most. And I kind of feel that when people see that I do have a disability, but I do still really push myself, I do still really aspire to greatness, I don't let it stop me, I don't let it slow me down. It is inspiring, at least I hope it is, and I know that whatever your situation is, you can be that way too. It is never too late to become the person you want to be physically, emotionally, or mentally. Never, never, never. You always can make a change. You always can do that. I've really learned that it's about mindset. I've chosen to be as positive as possible. I've chosen to live a life of gratitude. I've chosen to be happy and be excited about the things that I can do and do my best to better myself in the ways that I can physically, but accept what I can't do. I did a video series recently trying to improve on 3 exercises that are really challenging for me, and I will tell you from an emotional and mental standpoint that was really good for me. I did make some headway. I will link that video series below if you haven't seen it. But it was really good for me just to be able to put myself out in the public eye doing something that made me uncomfortable. And I think that that really taught me a valuable lesson, and that is that I am authentically me, and I only can be the best at being myself, and that's all we all can do. When we aspire to be someone else or aspire to have skills or do things that we're not really meant to do, that maybe aren't what we're supposed to do, we're never going to be the best person that we can be, and we're never going to be the best version of ourselves. But when we aspire to be the best version of ourselves, when we really learn to become our own best experts on our bodies, advocate for what we need, what it is that we want to do, and we really aspire to go out and do that, then we can find true happiness. We can really find challenges in our life that will push us and really motivate us to really become the best we can be and do things we never thought possible. And when you do those kinds of things, that is when I believe everybody feels at their very best, and that is what I aspire to help people do every day, and that's what I aspire to do for myself, and that's where I've found really true happiness. And I feel that whether you are living with a disability or you're not, that is really the key to becoming the best version of yourself and really finding true joy and happiness in your life. In closing, the final thought I want to leave you with is that people that have disabilities or limitations want to be made to feel as normal and as capable and independent as possible. So keep that in mind when you see someone. Instead of rushing forward to help them, wait and see if it's something they want to do by themselves. Wait to see if it's something that they want help for. Wait and let them do what they want to do on their own before assuming that they want or need your help. Let them feel as capable and independent as possible. I am so happy and blessed that I live a very normal life. I have 2 teenage boys who I absolutely adore. So I'm a mom of 2 boys. I work as a certified personal trainer. I have 2 YouTube channels. I'm very busy. My life is kind of chaotic right now. And you know what? That's the way I like it. And you know what? Some days I really welcome the help. I always love it when my arms are full of packages or groceries and someone offers to open a door for me. Whether you're disabled or you're not, I think everybody welcomes that. But just keep in mind that if you can help someone in your life that you know of that is living with a disability feel as capable and as normal and as functional as they possibly can, that is one of the best things you can do for them. They want to be loved and known and really recognized for who they are as a person, for their personality, for the vibrancy that they have, for their special qualities, not because they have a disability. A lot of times people will ask me, oh, were you in a car accident? Or, oh, what's wrong with your leg? I remember as a little girl, I had a cast, I think, on my leg, and I was in a grocery cart, and a lady asked me, oh, honey, what happened to your leg? And I got so sick of telling people all the time that I had cerebral palsy, and they would ask what it was, and I explained what it was, and I got so tired of it, I told her, well, I said, my mom told me to say that I have cerebral palsy, but I looked at her and I whispered in her ear. Actually, my mom told me to say that, but she pushed me down the stairs and she fell on my leg and broke it. And my mom was down the aisle getting something from the aisle, and the lady looked at my mom in horror and like huffed away, and she gave my mom a really dirty look. So I mean, like in childhood, I just got sick of explaining it, and I would do that kind of thing all the time. Nowadays that wouldn't be good because CPS would probably be knocking on our door, but you know, I mean, I just found a way to make it kind of funny and kind of comical because I got sick of talking about it. And even now today, like, to be honest with you, I forgot that it was National CP Awareness Month because I don't really think about it. I don't think about my life as being characterized by cerebral palsy. I don't really give it a second thought. I think a lot of people that know me would say the same thing. They definitely don't think of CP when I come to mind. They think that I'm probably a little crazy or a little high energy or a little quirky, but they definitely probably don't think about me having a disability, and that's just the way I want it. I mean, it doesn't bother me because I definitely want to bring awareness. I want people to know that many times people with disabilities or limitations, I think, can be some of the most inspirational people that you can know for varying different reasons. And I hope that I'm an inspiration to you because I know many of you that watch my videos definitely inspire me. So thank you so much for that. But with that, you guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you so much for helping me spread awareness about cerebral palsy and about disabilities in general in regards to how people want to be treated and how people with disabilities should be looked at and treated, because I do think that's really important. I will plan to see you next week. Next week we will be talking about setting boundaries. So if you haven't subscribed yet, I'd love to have you subscribe to my channel. We talk about all things positive on my channel, and I'd love to have you join me on Instagram if we're not connected there. I do Instagram live streams every Saturday at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time, so let's connect on Instagram if we're not connected there. But you guys, thank you so much. I will see you in my next video, and remember to make your everyday ordinary life extraordinary.